It took so long to find my voice, but now the silence has to break.
Because if you walk away, I don't know if I can face the day.
Oh my God, wow!
She is absolutely incredible.
I was pouring champagne into crystal glasses worth more than my monthly rent when Mrs. Victoria Ashford told her daughter I smelled like poverty. She didn't whisper it. She said it loud enough for the entire private dining room to hear, her diamond-heavy fingers waving through the air, like she was swatting away something rotten. The other guests laughed. Not polite chuckles. Real belly-deep laughter that made my hands shake so hard I nearly dropped the bottle. But I didn't drop it. I never dropped anything, because dropping things cost money I didn't have. Hey friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to comment where you are watching from. Someone close to you might be watching too. Like, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a story. Make sure to watch till the very end, because the final twist is something you definitely don't want to miss. So let's continue. My name is Sophie Blake, and I'd been working at the Grand Pearl Hotel for 3 years. 3 years of smiling when people snapped their fingers at me. 3 years of pretending I didn't hear the cruel jokes. 3 years of saving every single dollar because my little brother needed me to. The Ashford family had rented out the entire rooftop pavilion for their baby shower. Not just any baby shower. The kind where ice sculptures cost more than cars, and each guest received a gift bag stuffed with things most people couldn't afford in a lifetime. Victoria Ashford was celebrating her daughter-in-law's pregnancy like it was a national holiday, and she'd made it very clear that the staff was beneath her notice. Except when we weren't. Except when she needed someone to mock. "Did you hear me, girl?" Victoria's voice cut through my thoughts. She was looking right at me now, her face pulled tight from too many procedures, her eyes sharp and cold. "I asked if you could possibly move any slower. We have important guests arriving, and I won't have them thinking we hired incompetent help." My face burned. Every person in that room was staring at me. The other waiters had found excuses to disappear into the kitchen. Smart. I should have done the same. "I apologize, ma'am," I said quietly, keeping my eyes down. "I'll be faster." "You'll be faster," she mimicked, and more laughter rippled through the crowd. "Julian, darling, where did you find these people? Is there truly no one better?" Julian was the hotel manager. He stood near the door, practically bowing. "Mrs. Ashford, I assure you, our staff is highly trained." Highly trained to move like molasses, apparently. Victoria turned to her pregnant daughter-in-law, whose name was Catherine. "Darling, when you have your baby, make sure you teach him never to accept mediocrity. Look at this girl. This is what happens when people don't try hard enough in life." Something inside me cracked. Not broke, just cracked. Like a window with a spider web spreading across the glass. Because Victoria Ashford didn't know anything about my life. She didn't know that I worked 3 jobs. She didn't know that my parents died in a car accident when I was 19, leaving me to raise my 12-year-old brother alone. She didn't know that Danny had a learning disability and needed special tutoring I could barely afford. She didn't know that I dropped out of college 3 credits away from my degree because I had to choose between my education and keeping the lights on. She didn't know that I tried harder every single day than she'd probably tried in her entire privileged life. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded and moved to the next table, pouring champagne with steady hands, even though my vision was blurring. The party went on. Victoria held court like a queen, telling stories about her family's real estate empire, about their vacation homes in 3 countries, about how exhausting it was to manage so much wealth. Catherine sat beside her, one hand on her swollen belly, smiling but looking tired. The other guests laughed at all the right moments and complimented Victoria endlessly. I floated through the room like a ghost, refilling glasses, clearing plates, being invisible, until the microphone feedback screamed through the speakers. Everyone jumped. Victoria's hand flew to her chest. "What on earth?" Sorry. The event coordinator, a nervous woman named Lisa, was fumbling with the microphone at the small stage area. "We're having some technical difficulties with the sound system. Just give us one moment." Victoria's face turned the color of a tomato. "This is unacceptable. I paid a fortune for this venue, and you can't even manage basic equipment? We're fixing it right now, Mrs. Ashford, Lisa said, her voice shaking. But she wasn't fixing it. She was making it worse. The microphone kept screeching, and Lisa kept pressing buttons on the soundboard, looking more panicked by the second. Let me help. The words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. Victoria's head snapped toward me. Excuse me? The sound system, I said, already walking toward the stage. I know how to fix it. You? Victoria's laugh was sharp as broken glass. The champagne girl knows sound engineering? This should be entertaining. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, but I kept walking, because before I dropped out of college, I'd been studying communications. I'd worked part-time at the campus theater, running sound for shows. I knew these systems inside and out. I reached the stage and looked at the soundboard. Lisa stepped aside gratefully. The problem was obvious. Immediately, someone had accidentally bridged 2 channels, creating a feedback loop. I adjusted 3 knobs and flipped a switch. The screeching stopped. Silence fell over the room. There, I said quietly. It's fixed. Victoria's expression was priceless. Confusion, mixed with irritation, mixed with something that might have been embarrassment. But she recovered quickly. Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day. More laughter. Always more laughter. I started to step away from the microphone, but then something happened. Something I still can't fully explain. Maybe it was the way Victoria was looking at me, like I was something stuck to the bottom of her expensive shoe. Maybe it was thinking about Danny waiting for me at home, doing his homework at our tiny kitchen table, never complaining even though I knew he heard the other kids at school talk about their big houses and family vacations. Maybe it was just 3 years of swallowing every insult, every dismissive gesture, every reminder that people like Victoria Ashford saw people like me as less than human. The crack in my chest spread wider. I picked up the microphone. Mrs. Ashford, I said, and my voice came out steady and clear, filling the entire room. I need to tell you something. The room went dead silent. Victoria's eyes widened. Julian looked like he might faint. Sophie, Julian hissed. Put down the microphone right now. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because if I put it down now, I would spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I'd finally spoken up. You said I'm what happens when people don't try hard enough. I continued. You said I smell like poverty. You've spent this entire evening treating me and the other staff like we're barely human, and I'm tired of it. Victoria stood up, her face twisted with rage. How dare you? I dare because someone needs to, I said, and my voice didn't shake at all. You think you're better than me because you have money, because you were born into the right family, because you've never had to wonder if you can afford groceries this week. But being rich doesn't make you better. It just makes you luckier. Security! Victoria shrieked. Get this girl out of here immediately. But I kept talking, the words pouring out like they'd been dammed up for years. I work 3 jobs, Mrs. Ashford. I wake up at 5 in the morning and I don't get home until after midnight most nights. I'm raising my younger brother alone because our parents are dead. I dropped out of college 3 credits short of my degree because I had to choose between finishing school and keeping a roof over our heads. And you know what? I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still trying. Tears were running down my face now, but I didn't stop. You want to know what poverty smells like? It smells like fear. Fear that one unexpected bill will destroy everything you've built. Fear that you're failing the people who depend on you. Fear that you'll never be good enough, no matter how hard you try. And yes, sometimes it smells like the cleaning products I use to scrub other people's toilets, because that's one of my 3 jobs. 2 security guards were moving toward the stage now, but they were moving slowly, like they weren't sure they wanted to actually touch me. But you know what else? I said, looking directly at Victoria. Poverty doesn't make someone less valuable, less intelligent, less deserving of basic respect. I've met people in trailer parks with more kindness and dignity than you've shown in your entire life. I've met people working minimum wage jobs who would give their last dollar to a stranger in need. People you wouldn't even look at. People you think you're better than. Enough, Victoria's voice cracked. I'll have you arrested. I'll sue you. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. You probably will, I said quietly. But it'll be worth it. Because maybe, just maybe, one person in this room will remember that the people serving them champagne and clearing their plates are human beings, with lives and dreams and struggles you can't even imagine. And maybe that person will think twice before they decide to humiliate someone just because they can. The security guards reached the stage. I set down the microphone carefully, like it was made of glass. And then something unexpected happened. Someone started clapping. It was slow at first, single claps cutting through the silence. I turned and saw an older woman in an elegant gray dress standing near the back of the room. She was clapping and looking right at me with something like approval in her eyes. Then another person joined. Then another. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Not Victoria's inner circle. They looked horrified. But the other guests, people who'd been quietly observing all evening, they were clapping. Some were even standing. Victoria's face went from red to purple. Stop that! Stop it right now! This girl is being removed from the premises. But the applause continued. And through it all, I noticed Catherine, the pregnant daughter-in-law, staring at me with tears streaming down her face. Not angry tears. Something else. The security guards took my arms, but they were gentle about it. They led me off the stage and toward the door. Julian followed, sputtering apologies to Victoria. As we passed Catherine, she reached out and grabbed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saying that." I didn't understand what she meant. Not then. The security guards escorted me to the staff room where I'd left my bag. They didn't talk to me, didn't look at me, just waited while I gathered my things. I changed out of my uniform in the bathroom, hands shaking so hard I could barely button my jeans. Julian appeared in the doorway. "You're fired, obviously. I'll have your final paycheck mailed to you." "I know," I said. "That was incredibly stupid, Sophie. Mrs. Ashford is one of our most important clients. She's threatening to pull all of her business from the hotel. Do you understand what you've done?" I looked at him, really looked at him. He was maybe 40, with tired eyes and gray starting to show at his temples. A guy who'd probably started out with dreams of his own before they got buried under rent payments and responsibilities. "Yeah," I said, "I understand." I walked out through the service entrance, not the front door. Staff never used the front door. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp. The city stretched out around me, a million lights in a million windows, each one hiding its own story of struggle and survival. My phone buzzed. A text from Danny. "How's work?" Mr. Peterson said. "I did really good on my math test today. Love you." I sat down on the curb and cried. Not sad crying. Not exactly. Something more complicated. Relief mixed with terror, mixed with something that felt weirdly like pride. I'd just lost one of my 3 jobs. We were already barely making it. Now things would be worse. I'd probably burned every bridge in the hospitality industry with my little speech. Victoria Ashford seemed like the type who knew everyone, who could make good on her threat to ensure I never worked in this city again. But I'd said what needed to be said. And I'd meant every word. I texted Danny back. "That's amazing. So proud of you. I'll be home soon." Then I started walking toward the bus stop, trying to figure out how to break the news that money was going to be even tighter than usual. I didn't see the car pull up beside me until a window rolled down. "Sophie Blake?" I turned. A sleek black sedan idled at the curb. The driver was the older woman in the gray dress who'd started the applause. She was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Yes?" I said warily. "Get in, please. We need to talk." Every instinct screamed at me not to get into a stranger's car. But something about her face, about the way she'd clapped when no one else would, made me open the door. The interior was leather and wood, and that new car smell. The woman studied me as I buckled my seatbelt. "My name is Margaret Harrison," she said. "I'm Catherine Ashford's mother." My stomach dropped. "Oh, look, I'm sorry if I ruined her baby shower. I didn't mean to." "You didn't ruin anything," Margaret interrupted. "You did something very brave and very necessary." I didn't know what to say to that. Margaret told the driver to just circle the block, then turned to face me fully. "My daughter has been married to Victoria's son for 3 years. 3 years of being treated like a prized breeding mare instead of a human being. Victoria controls everything. Where they live, where they vacation, what Catherine wears, what she eats. She's been trying to control every detail of this pregnancy, from the nursery design to the baby's name. And my daughter has been too afraid to push back, because she doesn't want to cause problems." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because watching you stand up to Victoria reminded Catherine that she has a voice too," Margaret said. "After you left, Catherine told Victoria that she was done. Done with the controlling behavior. Done with the disrespect. Done letting Victoria treat service workers and anyone else she deems beneath her like trash. It was the first time I've seen my daughter stand up for herself in 3 years. My eyes burned with new tears. I'm glad. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm now jobless and probably blacklisted." Margaret smiled. It was a kind smile, warm and real. "You underestimate the situation. Victoria may have money, but I have connections. I sit on the boards of 6 different companies in this city, and I'm about to make some calls." "I don't understand." "I'm offering you a job, Sophie," she said. "My company needs an events coordinator, someone who understands sound systems clearly, someone who can handle pressure, someone who doesn't back down when things get difficult. The salary is $60,000 a year with full benefits, health insurance, dental, paid vacation, and I'll work around whatever schedule you need for your other jobs until you feel comfortable relying on just the one." I stared at her. $60,000. That was more than I made at all 3 jobs combined. That was health insurance for Danny's tutoring and maybe even finishing my degree and not living in constant terror of the next bill. "Why would you do this?" I whispered. Margaret's expression turned sad. "Because 25 years ago, I was you, working multiple jobs, raising a child alone, being treated like I was invisible by people who thought their bank accounts made them better, and nobody gave me a hand up. I clawed my way up all on my own, and it took twice as long as it needed to. I promised myself that if I ever had the power to change someone's life the way mine needed changing, I would. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Margaret said simply. "Say yes, and show up to my office on Monday morning at 9. We'll do all the paperwork then. Here's my card." She pressed an embossed business card into my hand. "Margaret Harrison, CEO, Harrison Events and Consulting." "Monday at 9, I repeated numbly. "Monday at 9, she confirmed. "Now, where can I have my driver take you?" She dropped me off at my apartment building, a rundown complex on the east side where the elevator only worked half the time and the walls were so thin you could hear everything the neighbors did. But it was home. It was safe. And Danny was waiting. I found him at the kitchen table exactly where I'd pictured him, bent over his homework. He looked up when I came in, his face breaking into a huge smile. "Sophie, how was work?" I dropped my bag and pulled him into a hug. He was getting taller, I realized. Soon he'd be as tall as me. Time was moving so fast. "It was interesting," I said, and started to laugh. Laugh until I was crying. Laugh until Danny was looking at me like I'd lost my mind. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, Danny, I think we're going to be okay." I told him everything over microwaved leftover pasta. His eyes got wider and wider as the story unfolded. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You really stood up to that mean rich lady?" he finally asked. "I really did." "And you're not in trouble?" "Well, I lost my job at the hotel, but I think I found a better one." Danny grinned. "You're like a superhero. But instead of fighting bad guys, you fight jerks with words." I laughed. "That's one way to look at it." "I'm proud of you," he said seriously. "Mom and Dad would be proud of you too." That broke something loose in my chest, the good kind of breaking. I pulled him close again and let myself cry for real this time. For everything we'd lost. For everything we'd survived. For this unexpected chance at something better. Monday morning, I put on my best dress and took 2 buses to Margaret Harrison's office in the financial district. The building was all glass and steel. The kind of place I'd never imagined working. The security guard directed me to the 15th floor. Margaret's assistant, a friendly woman named Jen, welcomed me and led me to a conference room. The paperwork was real. The job was real. The salary was real. I signed everything with shaking hands, still half convinced I'd wake up and find out this was a dream. Margaret wanted me to give you this, Jen said, handing me a large envelope. She said to open it after you left. I waited until I was on the bus home to look inside. It was a check, made out to me, for $5,000. The note attached said, "For your brother's tutoring, for your own education, for breathing room. You've earned it. Welcome to the team, Margaret." I pressed the envelope to my chest and watched the city roll past the window. This city that had felt like a prison for so long. This city that had demanded everything and given back so little. This city that suddenly, impossibly, felt full of hope. The story should have ended there. Happy ending, right? Girl stands up to bully, gets rewarded, life gets better. Roll credits. But life isn't that simple. 2 weeks into my new job, I was working late in the office when Jen knocked on my door. "Sophie, there's someone here to see you. Catherine Ashford." My heart skipped. I hadn't seen Catherine since that night at the baby shower. She was waiting in the lobby, her pregnancy even more obvious now. She looked nervous, her hands twisting together. "Hi," she said quietly. "I hope it's okay that I came." "Of course," I said. "How are you?" "I'm good. Really good, actually. I wanted to thank you. What you did that night changed everything for me." "Your mother told me you stood up to Victoria." Catherine smiled. It transformed her whole face. "I did more than that. I moved out. My husband and I got our own place across town. Victoria was furious. She threatened to cut us off financially. But my husband chose me over his mother's money. We're figuring it out together. It's scary, but it feels real. Does that make sense?" "It makes perfect sense," I said. "There's something else," Catherine said. She pulled a small gift bag from her purse. "I wanted to give you this, for your brother." Inside was a gift card to a bookstore, for $500. "Catherine, I can't." "Please," she said. "My mother told me about your brother, about how hard you work for him. I want to help. And before you say no, just know that you've already given me something much more valuable. You gave me my voice back. Let me do this." I took the gift card, my eyes blurring. "Thank you." "No," Catherine said firmly. "Thank you. For being brave when I couldn't be. For showing me that standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary." She left after that, and I sat alone in my office, holding that gift card and thinking about how one moment of courage had rippled outward in ways I never could have predicted. I thought about Victoria Ashford too, about whether she'd learned anything from that night or if she'd just found new people to look down on. I'd probably never know. People like her rarely changed. But Catherine had changed, and I had changed. And Margaret had changed someone's life all those years ago and was now changing mine. And maybe that was the point. Maybe you couldn't fix everyone. But you could fix something. Someone, including yourself. 6 months later, I finished my college degree. Margaret gave me time off to attend my graduation, and she and Jen came to watch me walk across that stage. Danny was there too, cheering louder than anyone else in the auditorium. A year after that, Danny tested into an advanced program at a better school. His tutors said he was thriving. He'd made friends. He was happy. 2 years later, I was promoted to senior events coordinator. I had my own apartment, a savings account, health insurance, security. But the biggest change wasn't in my bank account or my job title. It was in how I saw myself. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't less than. I was Sophie Blake. and I had value that had nothing to do with how much money I had or what family I came from. I still think about that night sometimes. About standing on that stage with a microphone in my hand and a room full of people staring at me. About the moment I decided that being polite mattered less than being honest. About how terrifying and exhilarating it felt to finally say what I'd been holding inside for so long. They say money can't buy happiness, but poverty can sure as hell steal it. And dignity, and hope, and the belief that you matter. I'm not rich now. Probably never will be. But I'm okay. Danny's okay. We're building a life that's ours, on our own terms. And every time I see someone treating a waiter or a cashier or anyone in a service job like they're less than human, I speak up, politely but firmly, because I remember what it felt like to be on the other side. And I remember that sometimes all it takes is one person refusing to stay silent. Victoria Ashford never apologized, never acknowledged what happened, never changed. But Catherine sends me a Christmas card every year with photos of her growing family. Margaret became a mentor and then a friend. And Danny is applying to colleges now, with scholarships and opportunities I never dreamed possible when I was his age. That's not the ending I expected when I picked up that microphone, but it's the ending I needed. The one where the girl who smelled like poverty learned that she'd been carrying something far more valuable than money all along. Courage, resilience, love, the refusal to let anyone make her feel small. And in the end, that was worth more than all of Victoria Ashford's diamonds combined. Dear friends, what you just saw is only one part of the bigger picture. In the next video, I'll reveal the twist no one saw coming, so make sure you're here when it drops. I would love to know what you would have done in this situation. Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading every single comment. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. And don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and share with someone who needs to hear it.